All right, let's get right into this explainer. Today, we're reconstructing a truly chilling chronological timeline of a respected military spouse who methodically planned and covered up an unthinkable crime. We're looking at the case of Jennifer Gledhill and the murder of her husband, Matthew Johnson. And you know, what makes this case so incredibly compelling to map out isn't just the crime itself. It's the deeply calculated steps taken before, during, and after to hide the truth. By breaking this down chronologically, we can see exactly how a complete facade of normalcy shattered into a massive criminal investigation.
He's not a person. He wasn't a person anymore. He wasn't Matt. Just listen to the sheer cold detachment in those words. That is a direct quote from a secret recording made by Jennifer's lover, and she said this before Matthew was even officially reported missing. It perfectly sets the stage for our timeline because it reveals her mindset right from the jump. She had completely dehumanized her husband, referring to him in the past tense with absolutely zero remorse. So to understand how she got to this point, we really need to rewind and look at the life they were living right before the timeline goes dark.
Before we hit that critical week in September, let's establish the facade. Because from the outside, they had it all. They lived in a $1 million home in Cottonwood Heights, Utah. Matthew was a highly respected Green Beret in the National Guard, known by everyone as brilliant and reliable. Jennifer was viewed as this devoted mother to their 3 young children. But behind closed doors, it was a highly dysfunctional marriage. The cracks were severe, and the legal system was actually already getting involved.
Look at this timeline. It tracks the rapid escalation leading right up to the murder. They were already considering divorce by July. In August, Jennifer actually filed for a temporary protective order against Matthew. But look at what happens on September 16th. That's just days before the tragedy. A judge dismissed her protective order. And why is that? Well, because the evidence showed Jennifer wasn't actually afraid. In fact, the judge noted her texts were repeatedly berating and demeaning Matthew. She was actually attempting to goad him into a violent response. The judge prophetically noted that a divorce should have been filed a long time ago.
So here's the crucial part. While this whole legal battle is playing out, Matthew's friends noticed he was genuinely concerned for his safety. It got to the point where he actually started sleeping at a National Guard facility. He realized a divorce had to happen. But what Matthew didn't realize, however, was the true extent of Jennifer's double life. She wasn't just unhappy, she was completely consumed by an intense, secret affair with another man. And this lover would soon become the absolute central key to unraveling everything she was about to do.
And all of this tension builds into an absolute countdown. Notice how incredibly calculated her next steps are. On September 19th, Jennifer shows her lover a loaded Glock 19X. That exact same day, she strategically moves their 3 children out of the house to stay with her parents. She is literally priming the stage here. The very next evening, September 20th, the fragile facade crumbles entirely. Matthew discovers the truth about her double life and witnesses here an explosive, heated argument over the affair.
Well, that argument ends tragically just a few hours later. In the early hours of September 21st, as Matthew lay completely vulnerable and sleeping in their master bedroom, Jennifer takes that very same 9mm handgun and shoots him in the head. In an instant, she chose murder over a messy divorce. But here's the thing, she doesn't panic. Instead, she immediately initiates one of the most methodical cover-up operations investigators have ever seen.
Okay, let's dive into this cleanup timeline, because the sheer methodical speed here is just staggering. According to her own later confession and GPS data, she slides his body down the stairs inside a rooftop storage container and loads it into a minivan. By 6 a.m., GPS shows she's already dumping his truck in a nearby neighborhood. Then, she drives north toward Davis County to bury him in a shallow grave. When she gets back, she bleaches the walls, cleans the carpets, and immediately orders a brand new mattress to replace the blood-soaked one.
But, her arrogance becomes her undoing. Just before midnight on September 22nd, Jennifer shows up at her lover's house. She's bruised, and when he asks why, she casually confesses that she got the bruises from burying her husband. Her lover is obviously terrified. In a subsequently recorded call, she actually compares herself to the Queen of Hearts. She says, "I always preached that I was like the Queen of Hearts, off with their heads," and talks about killing people to get the country to a good place. She is terrifyingly detached, asking him not to think of her as a monster while literally confessing to cold-blooded murder.
Meanwhile, over at the Utah National Guard, they realize Matthew is missing on September 23rd when he doesn't show up for duty. But it takes a full 6 days after her casual confession to her lover for Jennifer to finally call the police. That happens on September 28th. She spins this whole story, claiming Matthew said he'd be gone for a week and told her not to call him.
But what she didn't know was that her terrified lover had been taking screenshots and recording their calls, eventually taking the whole shebang straight to the police.
When the police finally execute a search warrant on the home, wow. The physical evidence they find absolutely, perfectly aligns with everything Jennifer told her lover in secret. Look at this list. They found a substantial blood stain under the bed, blood on the slats, the heavy reek of bleach, reddish-brown spatter on the walls and blinds. And the smoking gun? A brand new mattress that digital records show she ordered just days after the murder, which was delivered on September 26th. The timeline had finally caught up with her. Now think about this. 5 hours. Investigators quickly realized there was no way Jennifer cleaned this massive, extensive crime scene all alone. She had help, and digital footprint evidence pointed directly to her own parents, Thomas and Rosalie Gledhill. This critical 5-hour window became the next major breakthrough in the timeline, exposing a family-wide conspiracy to hide a murder. This right here perfectly exposes the exact trap the parents fell into. They told police they were only at Jennifer's house for less than an hour, just to pick up some clothing, but the digital data completely blew that story apart. It proved they spent over 5 hours there during the cleanup period. Not only that, investigators found that Rosalie was actually the one who purchased the new mattress, and she had her phone remotely reset, intentionally wiping all location data from that critical time frame.
And the whole web of lies just completely unravels when they question the father, Thomas. In his attempt to distance himself, he inadvertently tells police, "I did not go in where the incident happened," which of course reveals he knew exactly that there was a specific crime scene in the master bedroom. To make matters worse, when police search the parents' home, they find the box for a Glock 119X. That's the exact model Jennifer showed her lover, and it was hidden inside a plastic tote wrapped in a child's onesie. You really can't make this stuff up.
So, let's jump to the present day. Armed with the lover's secret recordings, the GPS data, and all that physical evidence, police arrested Jennifer and both of her parents. But despite over 70 searchers, law enforcement, and Matthew's own military brothers scouring multiple counties across northern Utah, Matthew's body remains missing into its 5th month. He is out there in an unmarked grave, and Jennifer flat out refuses to say where.
But even without a body, the physical evidence continues to mount against her disposal timeline. Investigators recently found a crucial clue. You know that vehicle storage container Jennifer used to slide Matthew's body down the stairs? They found it floating in water. And inside, they found Matthew's blood. It cements the physical link to Jennifer's cleanup and disposal timeline, proving what she did.
Jennifer is now facing some absolutely severe consequences. She's charged with first-degree murder, 5 counts of obstruction, desecration of a human body, and witness tampering. She has pleaded not guilty. During her bail hearing, prosecutors revealed she had even told her lover she would shoot herself before going to jail. Proving she was a significant danger, the judge completely denied bail, meaning she currently sits in the Salt Lake County Jail awaiting trial.
And just to add a final, really sickening motive to this entire timeline, $500,000. Yes, she wanted to avoid a messy divorce and custody battle to pursue her affair, for sure, but there is also an unresolved fight over Matthew's $500,000 military life insurance policy. Jennifer is named as the beneficiary. With her facing murder charges, the insurance company is now having to ask the courts to step in and determine who should actually receive that money.
So, how does a mother of 3 justify destroying so many lives for the sake of an affair? As we wrap up this explainer and look ahead to her scheduled trial in December 2025, that is the haunting question you should take away from this entire tragedy. We've tracked the timeline of a woman who meticulously planned a murder, completely dehumanized her husband, roped her own parents into an elaborate cover-up, and left 3 young children without a father. Justice is working its way through the courts, but until they find Matthew Johnson, the final piece of this timeline remains tragically unfinished.